All right, this is a Ford Taurus, and it's in the 1996 to 2007 range. This is a 2001 Ford Taurus SES. And the way I clean these things is different than most people. I literally will wash these doors with soap and water and a brush, clean this stuff in the hot sun like today. It dries pretty fast. You do have to be careful with some of the electronics. If you're running around with all that water, you want to disconnect your battery so that you don't cause an electrical connection inside this area or that area or down below the seats, because you can actually deploy an airbag, so just disconnect your battery. But what I do is I pull these carpets out, and you can see here that this goes in there, right? You can pop that out. You can pull this carpet out. And I separated the backing from the carpet because the backing, if it gets wet, it could stay 2 weeks in the hot sun and not get dry. So you can replace the backing with insulation if you want to. Just tear it off and replace it with some other insulation, or if you're careful, you can remove it almost all in one piece. You can take these seats out, you disconnect the yellow and the gray. They go up in here, as you can see, right? So you have a little clip right there that you have to push down. That thing right there, you push it down, you can see it. Okay, and then it goes in there. And then this one here, you can always take them off if you have to. There's a metal tab on the back. Same thing. You just have to disconnect them. And there's a little tab on the back of these things that you have to push down, and then you just disconnect it. Just be careful. So you disconnect the seats. You have 1, 2 bolts here, and then you have 2 bolts on the back, as you can see, right there, and right there. Okay, so to disconnect these things is not that hard, and to put them back on is definitely not that hard. To get these rear seats out, super simple. Okay, all you have to do to get these seats out is push in on the seat here and push in on the seat here as follows. Watch the way I do this. You push in towards the back of the car. Okay, then you come over here and do the same thing on this. You push in to get down kind of low, right about in the center. You can feel it down there. You push in. Okay, it's easier to use your knee. Push in and lift up, and the whole seat comes out. Okay, so you can see this backing here. I removed it from the back by tearing it carefully apart and doing it slowly, because this stuff here, if it gets wet, it could sit for 2 weeks in the July heat and still be wet and get moldy. So this is where this clip goes, and that clip goes there. So to put the thing back together again is actually not that hard. I'll do that later. You just clip it all back. Anyway, I cleaned the carpet really well, let it dry, brush it out, use Meguiar's upholstery cleaner, and as you can see, that's where one of the bolts is gonna go. That's where the other bolt's gonna go. And I make these custom, I don't know, just little protectors for the carpet, right? I don't like the ones you buy that are made out of rubber. So same thing, not that hard to pull the carpet out, right? You can pull the whole carpet out as one piece, but you got to take the seats out first. So here you have bolts in the front, right here. You see where the bolts go, right? And then you have the centerpiece on some of the cars. You have the center console where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts as follows. Okay, so for the front seat, the inside of it, that's 13 millimeters. That goes to these and this. Okay, then the center is 10 millimeters, and you have 4 bolts there. And you can take off that center console. You have this little plastic piece here that fits down inside there. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but anyway, you just pop that out, and then you can see where the bolts go, and you can take this thing out, and you have the center seat in some of these cars has a 6 seating, so you have potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 in the center. Almost nobody ever sits in these center seats, but some people do. Sometimes I take these things and I remove all this stuff and I put in a center console so that I can have my drinks and all my other stuff and I get rid of this. But what I do is I keep the armrest. So sometimes I will literally cut away this part with a chop saw, and I'll bolt this back in, and I'll have my armrest, and then I'll put a center console right in here so I can have all my stuff. And I don't really like this thing, but this is actually meant to be a seat, and there's actual seat belts that go with it. So if you decide to convert it, you can just throw away the seat belts. All right, so you have a 18 millimeter that goes with this. 13 goes with all those 3. 10 millimeter goes with those 4, like that. Then to get the seat belt off, this is a T50. Okay, you can see it's one of these star deals, and that's for this. So when it comes time for the seat belt, if you want to remove the seat belt and get the carpet out of there, well, then you have to take this out, and that's where the T50 comes in. Okay, I use Meguiar's upholstery cleaner. It's the only one that I really believe works well and comes out properly when you wash everything. A lot of the other ones, they leave a residue, and that residue attracts more dirt, and those areas that you clean with carpet cleaner, they basically get dirty faster. This, I take and hose it off outside the car. It's got an outdoor foam which doesn't absorb water. Wash it with the vegetable brush and the upholstery cleaner, the Meguiar's, the spray foam. Same thing with all these. Wash it all down, rinse it off, put it in the sun. 2 hours later, it's dry. If you decide to remove all this like I have, you don't have to be careful about water. You can wash these. You can do the same thing. Use lots of water, and underneath the carpet and underneath all these other areas here are these little plugs where you can remove these plugs and you can drain out the water. Okay, so it is a big job. It is a lot of work. You're dedicating at least a day of your time to pull all this stuff apart, clean it, let it dry, put it all back together again, but it makes the car look new. All this stuff usually dries, plastics dry, everything's pretty much like new. You gotta be careful because you do have airbags in here. So again, you don't want to do anything that would cause an electrical problem, but you can use plenty of water. You don't want to spray all this stuff off and get too much water in here. I actually had a problem on one car where I sprayed some water on here, and it created an electrical connection in the cruise control, and it caused the horn to go off. Crazy, isn't it? But the horn would go off every single day because it created an electrical connection inside of the cruise control. Strange. So every time I pushed the cruise control, it would honk the horn. Very strange. Anyway, water can cause problems like that. Anyway, hopefully this is a video to help you understand if you need to get in here and do some repairs, you can do that. To pull these things off, when you do, you just want to label them. But you see there's a little metal clip here. This metal clip goes into this part of the car. So the metal clip is gonna go in there, and it's gonna go on that. And those are difficult to remove, and you can easily hurt yourself trying to pull all that stuff apart. But you'll see those metal clips sometimes stay here, like this, for example, they don't come off. Okay, so you wanna label them as you go through. The way I do it is left front passenger, right front passenger, all that. And anyway, those aren't that hard to pull off, and then you can access the bolts. Okay, hope that helps somebody.